Have you ever thought about it? Why do people begin to desire you only when you don't want them? Is this a trick the universe plays on you, or one of the deepest secrets of human nature? Stay tuned to learn the answer. When it comes to relationships, there is something a bit strange about how our minds work. It's almost as if there's a paradox. The more we want something, the less likely we are to get it, and vice versa. When we let go of something and stop pursuing it with the same passion, it starts to draw closer to us, as if our desire is being pulled away by its absence. This dynamic is not just a quirk of human interactions. It is a reflection of deeper principles observed in nature and articulated by ancient philosophers. It's as if the universe is testing whether we can really control ourselves and how far we can detach from what we want. We don't run after it. We wait. We watch. And when the moment is right, we act with precision and purpose. The strength of the lion lies not only in its physical abilities, but also in knowing when to act and when to remain still. Similarly, when we stop chasing after it, we regain control. We can learn from the lion and become more patient, balanced, and in control of our desires. But why is this so? Why do they want us when we are no longer interested? The answer lies in the basic principles of human psychology that the Stoics understood and explained long ago. As Epictetus said, "What matters is not what happens to you, but how you react to it." Once we stop reacting with despair or desire, you completely change the dynamic of the interaction. You change from a follower to a follower. When we truly embrace indifference, when we really don't care whether someone wants us or not, we create a space for self-respect and dignity to flourish. It's not just a vanity. It's not just a game. It is a real detachment, a letting go, which means letting go of the need to control or to own. When you are indifferent, you are not affected by the moods or interests of others, and it is precisely this state that allows you to be at your most attractive. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, writes in his Meditations, "You have control over your thoughts, not over external circumstances. When you realize this, you will feel more powerful. When you are not dependent on likes and dislikes, on their attention or love, you become an irresistible force. This inner strength, this quiet confidence, is really attractive." Let's examine this in more detail with an example. Imagine someone who is constantly seeking approval and love from others. He is constantly texting, seeking reassurance, and is always available. What message does this send? It shows a lack of self-esteem and self-confidence and makes you look needy, which is not a very pleasant image. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine a person who is calm, cool, doesn't chase, doesn't seek approval. This person is confident and self-assured. It is precisely this confidence that attracts others. The key is to avoid game playing, manipulation, and deception. Instead, focus on developing real self-control and indifference. It's not about pretending not to care, but about not really caring. It is about understanding that your worth is not determined by others' interest in you. This is the essence of Stoicism, the idea that true power comes from within, from your own mind and your own actions, not from the approval or love of others. So when you feel that someone's interest in you is waning, don't chase them away. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that you need to do more, be more, or do something to get their attention back. Instead, take a step back. Embrace the power of indifference and focus on your own growth and peace. Don't try to control the situation. When you stop trying to control everything, you will find that you find yourself. As Seneca wisely said, true happiness is about living in the present moment without worrying about the future. Don't worry about whether they will come back. or whether their interest will be rekindled. Instead, focus on the present moment and living in an honorable, self-respecting way. And the very thing that you are no longer pursuing may start to come towards you. This is the first sign that they want you when you are no longer interested. It's not a matter of manipulation or playing hard to get. It's about cultivating true Stoic indifference, finding your power within yourself, and letting go of the need for external approval. When you do this, you become a person with a real self. You don't run after things because you know that what is for you will find you in its own time. We all tend to think that we can control everything: our relationships, our circumstances, and even the actions of others. However, the Stoics taught us that true power comes not from trying to control things, but from learning to let go. This brings us to the second proof that when you no longer want them, they want you. The power that comes from letting go of control. Imagine someone trying to control every aspect of a relationship. They are constantly wondering what the other person is thinking, what they are doing, and whether they are losing interest. This person may try to influence the other person's feelings or steer the relationship in a direction that suits their desires. But in doing so, they make what they want more difficult and make themselves worse off. On the other hand, consider the person who knows that control is an illusion. This person knows that they cannot make someone else feel or behave in a certain way. He or she does not manipulate or coerce. Instead, he focuses on what he can control: his own actions, feelings, and reactions. When you stop trying to control others, you don't have to worry about them. You can focus on yourself. This approach is not only a good idea, but also an excellent way to feel more free. When we stop constantly fighting against it or trying to control it, instead of living in harmony with the natural flow of life, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, new experiences, and new ways of connecting with others. Interestingly, when we let go, we may find that others are drawn to us and desire us more. Make the best use of what you can control and accept the rest as it is. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. Focus on what you can control, your own thoughts and actions. Let the rest go. You become a strong, calm, and peaceful person. This inner peace is what others find so attractive. Think of a river. The river doesn't fight the rocks in its path. It flows around and over them, finding the path of least resistance. In doing so, it shapes the landscape, carving valleys and canyons, creating beauty and life. Similarly, when we lose control of everything, we actually only transform it. We can learn from the river. We should flow in harmony with life, not resist it. We can shape our destiny through acceptance, not resistance. This brings us to the practical side, the art of letting go. When you feel someone pulling away from you, losing interest, don't try to force them back. Instead, let go and focus on your own life, your goals, and personal development. Believe that things will work out and that you can find happiness without controlling every detail. It's not about surrendering or giving up hope. It's about understanding your own limitations and embracing the freedom that letting go brings. As Marcus Aurelius said, "What hinders action actually makes actions easier. What gets in your way is what you have to go around." When you stop controlling everything, it becomes easier to get things done. Let life flow by itself, and you often find that what you are trying to control comes to you naturally, without effort or struggle. So when you no longer want them, the way to realize that they want you is to let go. When you let go and stop trying to control what you cannot control, you create space for a real connection, a real attraction, and a real love. You become a strong and calm person, unaffected by what others think, confident in your own abilities. It is this strength and serenity that others find most attractive. One of the things the Stoics understood best is that true strength and fulfillment come from internal sources, not external sources. This idea is a proof that they want you when you no longer want them. The magnetic power of self-sufficiency. Think of someone who is always seeking approval from others. You see that his happiness, his self-worth, and even his entire existence depends on the opinions and love of those around him. Such a person drifts in a sea of uncertainty, like a ship without a rudder. He is dependent on external approval. He is needy and desperate for attention. This desperation drives others away from them. Contrast this with someone who is self-sufficient. This person is not dependent on others for happiness or self-worth. He is a self-reliant person, satisfied with himself and what he has. He goes about his life with quiet confidence. He knows he is complete, without needing anyone else. This completeness makes them extremely attractive. There is a strong, almost magnetic force that comes from self-sufficiency. This is the power of a person who does not need others, but chooses to relate to them because they are genuinely interested in them and want to share their already rich and fulfilling life. Such people are quite rare, and this rarity makes them desirable. As Seneca said, "The best things in life are precisely within us and within our reach." A wise person is happy with what they have, no matter what. When you develop self-sufficiency, you carry this wisdom in your body. You are happy with your life and don't need the approval of others to feel incomplete. When you are in this state of fulfillment, you attract others to you, not because you need them, but because they are attracted to your strength, confidence, and independence. Look what happens to a tree in a storm. A tree with superficial roots is blown away by the wind, but a strong tree with deep roots stands tall no matter what the storm brings. It doesn't need support from other people. Its strength comes from its deep roots. Similarly, when you are self-sufficient, you are like that strong tree. You are not influenced by the opinions or behavior of others. You rely on your own abilities, values, and self-worth. One of the key strategies for developing self-efficacy is to focus on your own growth and development. When you feel someone's interest waning, don't try to win them back by focusing on their needs or wants. Instead, focus on yourself, on becoming the best version of yourself, on developing your skills, knowledge, and character. The greater your investment in yourself, the less you need others, and the more attractive you will be. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations. He often talks about the importance of self-sufficiency and self-development. Thoughts shape your soul. When you focus on your own development and adopt a mindset of self-sufficiency, you create a vibrant, powerful, and attractive inner world. Your inner strength naturally attracts others to you, not because you need them, but because they are drawn to the strength and confidence radiating from within you. But being self-sufficient is not only about personal growth. It is also about accepting that you are complete, just as you are. You don't need someone else to fill a void in your life, because there is no void to fill. You are complete and whole. When you let go, everything changes. You change from someone who needs others to someone to whom others are drawn. The way to understand that they want you when you no longer want them is to observe the magnetic force of self-sufficiency. When you develop this quality, you become someone who is not dependent on the love or approval of others. You become complete, confident, and happy in yourself. This self-sufficiency and quiet strength is what others find most attractive. They are attracted to you not because you are looking for them, but because they want to have the qualities that you have. The human heart has a paradox that has puzzled thinkers, philosophers, and poets for centuries: the paradox of desire. The more you want something, the less chance you have of getting it. But when we give up this burning desire, when we stop clinging to it, it usually comes to us spontaneously. This is an example of how when you don't want them, they want you. The paradox of desire can be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it motivates us, gives us strength, and helps us achieve our goals. On the other hand, when you direct your desire towards another person, it can become suffocating, consuming, and ultimately repulsive. The Stoics understood this well and said that the key to living a peaceful, fulfilling life was to take control of our desires and want less. Epictetus once said, "The only worthwhile goal in life is freedom. You gain it by ignoring what you cannot control." The freedom referred to here is not just physical freedom, but a deeper, more meaningful freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of our desires is possible by taking control of our desires. When we learn to want less and give up what we desire, we break free from the chains of need and longing. When we are free of obstacles, we become stronger, more attractive, and more magnetic. Imagine a person desiring something so intensely that all their thoughts, actions, and words revolve around that desire. This intensity can actually push people away instead of attracting them. The person is perceived as needy and desperate, and this makes them less attractive. Now imagine the opposite. Someone who keeps their own desires in check and feels complete without needing anything or anyone. This person is calm, collected, and fulfilled. He doesn't chase others, he doesn't try to possess them, and he doesn't get dissatisfied. Instead, he or she exudes a quiet confidence and peaceful self-assurance that others find irresistibly attractive. They are like a flame that doesn't burn extremely hot, but constantly emits a warm light, and this attracts others effortlessly. The idea of desire is not just a philosophical concept. We can also see it in the natural world. Take a bird, for example. If you chase it with all your might, it will fly away scared. But if you sit back and relax and let it come to you, maybe it will land on your shoulder on its own. Similarly, when we relax our intense desires and stop chasing others so much, we often find that they are naturally drawn to us, without force or effort. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, said, "It is not he who has little, but he who desires more that is poor." When we learn to control our desires and want less, we become truly rich. We become free from the need to control others or to get them to do everything. When we are free from the need to control others, we become more attractive and desirable because we don't need anyone else to feel complete. So how can we achieve mastery over this desire? How can we achieve this seemingly contradictory goal of wanting less and at the same time attracting more? The answer lies in developing strong self-awareness and self-discipline. If you are in a situation where someone's desire is overwhelming you, take a step back. Take a moment to think about where this strong desire is coming from. Do you think they will complete you? Maybe you are afraid of being alone? Do you think they are the key to your happiness? Once you understand where your desire is coming from, try to distance yourself from it. Nobody can complete you. Instead, focus on your own development and well-being. Just because you leave a situation doesn't mean you turn your back on others or become indifferent. Marcus Aurelius said, "Embrace what you cannot control and love wholeheartedly those on whom you depend." This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, to love and care for others, but without too much attachment and intense desire that leads to suffering. When you love in this way, you love freely, purely, and without the need to possess or control. They can only want you when you don't want them. This is the paradox of desire. When you stop trying to possess and release your desire, you create a space for true connection. You become calm, confident, and peaceful. Someone who is not driven by the need to satisfy their desires. Someone who is content with who they are. It is this contentment, this freedom from desire, that makes others so attracted to you. The dynamics of human relationships can be influenced by a subtle but powerful force. There is an invisible thread that pulls people together when they are apart. This is the power of absence, and it is proof that for one to want you, the other has to move away from you. If you use absence wisely, it can be one of the most powerful tools of the Stoics. It's not about playing games or manipulating others. It's about understanding the natural ups and downs of relationships and the importance of distance in stimulating desire. When we are separated, only longing can fill the void, and that longing often allows others to see our true worth. Consider the ancient Stoic concept of apatheia, freedom from emotional fluctuations. This principle teaches that we should not be too attached to anything or anyone, because attachment can lead to suffering. If we become too present and too accessible, we risk being ignored and become a pattern that is no longer noticed or appreciated. But when we create distance and step back, we allow others to feel our absence, to miss us, and to desire our presence again. Seneca advised in his letters, "Take a break from the outside world and focus on yourself. Meet people who can help you to make yourself a better person. Meet people who can contribute to your development." This withdrawal is not about isolation. It is about creating the distance to support your own development and giving others time to reflect on your absence. When you step back, you give others a chance to miss you and appreciate you more when you return. Your absence becomes like fresh air in a stale room. It gives you a breath of fresh air in your life, renews your passion, and rekindles the spark that has been extinguished. Just as fire needs air to burn, relationships need space to thrive. When you are always around and always available, you become like air, necessary but no one notices you. But when you step back, even for a short time, you create a void and make it a space that others naturally want to fill. This principle applies not only in human relationships, but also in nature. Think of tides. They come and go, and when they don't, the shore waits for them to return. The cyclical nature of the tide keeps the shore in a state of anticipation, readiness, and appreciation. Similarly, when you step back and give yourself some space, you create an opportunity for the other person to fill that void. But how can we use the power of absence without falling into the trap of manipulation? This depends entirely on intention. Absence should not be used as a means to control someone or to get a certain reaction. Instead, it should be the result of a natural need for your own space, personal growth, self-reflection. When you step back, this is the time you need to focus on yourself, to cultivate inner peace, and to take time for your own interests. When you do this, you not only help yourself, but you also allow the relationship to breathe, develop, and evolve. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, advises us to treat our actions, speech, and intentions with the same care as we would approach a death. This means that we should act with purpose and intention, with the understanding that every moment is precious. If you choose to stay away from the relationship, do so with the intention of healing yourself and the relationship. Use your time apart to reflect, grow, and renew. Another way to take advantage of its power is to embrace periods of solitude. It can be hard to find moments of solitude, to get away from the constant demands for attention. But in these moments of solitude, we find clarity, reconnect with our true selves, and nurture the inner strength that makes us attractive to others. Another strategy is to focus on what you are passionate about and enjoy. When you are engaged in something that is meaningful and fulfilling to you, there is naturally a void in your relationships. This void is not an absence, but a fertile space for growth, reigniting desire and allowing others to see you in a new light. It is also helpful to think about the importance of boundaries. A Stoic knows how to set boundaries, step back, say no, and create distance. Boundaries are not walls. They are guidelines for healthy, balanced relationships. When you set boundaries, you show others that you respect your space, that you value your presence, and that your absence is appreciated. As Epictetus said, "A wise person does not worry about what he does not have, but celebrates what he has." When you take a step back in the relationship and embrace the void, you are not abandoning it. You are actually nurturing it. You are giving it the space it needs to grow and develop and become better. In this space, others will recognize your true value. They will want to be around you, and they will only understand you when you are absent. Fifth, you can look at the power of absence to see that they only want you when you no longer want them. When you take a step back and create some space, you make others feel your absence. They miss you and desire you. You become a mysterious, intriguing, and deep person. You are not always around, but you are influential. In this absence, you become the most attractive, the most desirable, and the most valuable. We often think that we need others, and this thought deceives us. We can achieve true happiness and fulfillment without depending on others. This illusion traps us in dependence and robs us of our inner strength. The Stoics knew that true power comes from self-sufficiency. They understood that our well-being does not depend on others, but only on ourselves. This brings us to the sixth proof of the principle of attracting others when they don't want you, but only when you want them, turning dependence into power. The idea that we need someone else can be tempting. It tells us that we are not enough on our own and that we need someone else to feel complete. But this is a false belief. It weakens us and puts our happiness in the hands of others. When we think we need someone else, we become vulnerable, open to manipulation, and easy to control. We begin to think that our worth depends on their presence, their attention to us, or their approval. In this state, we fail to see our own power and potential. But what happens when we burst this bubble? What happens when we realize that we don't need anyone else to be complete, happy, and fulfilled? We take back control. We turn dependency into a power. We become people who are not defined by our relationships, but who define our relationships by the strength of our character, our will, and our inner resilience. The wise Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Start living your life now, and treat each day as a new beginning." This wisdom teaches that we should live each day and each moment as complete in itself. When we adopt this mindset, regardless of what happens tomorrow or who is around us, we break the chains of attachment. We realize that every day and every moment has the potential for fulfillment, regardless of who is or is not in our lives. Think of the oak tree, firmly rooted in the ground, unaffected by the winds of change. It stands tall and strong. It does not need the support of other trees. Its strength comes from the depth of its roots and the strength of its trunk. Similarly, when we focus on our own strengths and become self-sufficient, we can become resilient and unshakable, similar to the oak tree. So how can we let go of the idea that we need others? How can we turn dependency into a source of strength? The first step is to get to know yourself better. Recognize when you are dependent on someone else for your happiness, or when your self-worth depends on their presence or approval. Take a moment to ask yourself these questions. Why do I think I need this person? What am I trying to get out of this situation? What is the underlying fear I am working on? Asking yourself these questions helps you to see that what you are really thinking is an illusion. This illusion disappears when viewed with a more open mind. The next step is to focus on your own development and growth. If we are not pursuing our own goals and passions, we are more likely to become dependent on others. By investing in yourself, learning new skills, following your interests, and challenging yourself, you build a foundation of self-sufficiency. You become someone who is complete on your own, someone who can feel whole without needing someone else. You choose to share your life with others, not out of need, but out of strength. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in the Meditations to examine ourselves well. When we do, we find a source of strength that will always be with us. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy, the idea that true strength and power comes from within. When you focus on your own strengths, you become less dependent on others. You become self-sufficient, resilient, and strong. The other way to transform dependence into strength is to practice detachment. This does not mean cutting people out of your life or being indifferent to relationships. Rather, it is about having a mindset that is not overly attached to any person or outcome. Staying detached allows you not to lose yourself when engaging in relationships. It allows you to value others too much, while preventing them from being the cause of your happiness. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought a fool and an idiot." This advice may seem a bit harsh, but it emphasizes the importance of independence and self-sufficiency. When you are happy with yourself and don't need others to confirm your worth, you are less influenced by what others think. You can live your life according to your own values and principles and not fear injury or rejection. Finally, make time for solitude. In a world where many people see solitude as boring, the Stoics believed that solitude was a valuable time for reflection, growth, and self-discovery. When you find peace and satisfaction in being on your own, you begin to see that you don't need anyone else. You realize that you are complete on your own, and that you don't need anyone else to fill the gaps in your life. Another way to recognize that someone only wants you when you are not interested is to pay attention to changes in the dynamics in your relationship. As you begin to feel more independent and self-sufficient, you see clearly that they are no longer the center of your world. When you realize that you can be happy or valuable without needing others, when you trust yourself and develop your inner strength, you become a strong, resilient, and confident person who is not dependent on others. This strength and independence is what others find so attractive. What makes you attractive is the attraction to someone you don't need. That's why others are attracted to you, not because you need them, but because you don't need them. If this video has given you something, don't forget to show it by pressing the like button. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of new videos and share this valuable information with your loved ones to touch their lives too. Remember, the real power is within us, and we continue to discover it together.